Hi everybody, this is Lori Greenlee, your condo expert. Today I'm going to be talking about the unprotected condo buyer or consumer and the missing fiduciary during that process. The first U.S. condos started in early 1960, actually 1960. And with aging and deteriorating buildings today and underfunded and even unfunded reserves, minimal industry knowledge and training, condo investing is only going to become more of a risk for consumers if we don't get in front of things sooner than later from a financial, safety, and liability perspective. The ultimate goal is to protect condo consumers, the buyers, until the appropriate fiduciary, education, and legislation is in place in America. First, I want to define what a fiduciary really is, and this is as defined by Investopedia. Fiduciary is a person or organization that acts on behalf of another person or persons, putting their client's interests ahead of their own, with a duty to preserve good faith and trust. Being a fiduciary thus requires being bound both legally and ethically to act in the other's best interest. Again, that credit goes to Investopedia. When you invest in a business or the stock market, you either are an expert and understand the concept, the rules and regulations, the potential risks and hopeful rewards, or you hire and surround yourself with a team of experts who are there to assist you and protect you. That's a fiduciary. You experience the same when you invest in a single-family home or a piece of commercial real estate. Most people work with the trained and licensed real estate agent or broker, a fiduciary. However, to date in the United States, when you purchase a condo, there's a missing fiduciary representing the buyer in that process. A condominium or a large commercial building, that condo that's in that building, that houses you and your neighbors, and is operated from decisions derived by the same untrained and unknowledgeable consumers, is very different than a single-family home. For example, when you purchase a house, an inspection will tell you the age of that roof, the HVAC, the windows, the condition of the foundation, and so forth. So then you can make an educated decision from a structural and financial standpoint as to whether you want to proceed with the purchase, negotiate, or withdraw your offer. A condo inspector will not provide this information like the inspector of a single-family home will. They will only provide information on the interior of the individual condo being inspected, not the entire building. The only way to obtain this information is through a reserve study, and it is believed that only 30% of all condo buildings across America are operating under a current reserve study. Many don't have a reserve study on file at all, or even are aware of what that is. When you purchase a condo, most people don't understand the importance of this information, where to get it, or to ensure that there is sufficient money set aside to fund the repairs or replacements analyzed in these reserve studies, such as the roof, HVAC, windows, and elevators, the larger components. Instead, the same team, the residential real estate team that represents you in your single-family home investment, is representing you in your condo transaction. Yet they have not had specific training in condos and condo HOAs, unlike the training that real estate agents and professional teams in parts of Canada have received, unless the agent has taken it upon themselves to seek thorough and very specialized training, which is a chore in itself. It is difficult to find such training in America. In Canada, these agents must answer to the government regulatory requirements. Not only have they been trained in detail to cover the results of these reserve studies, but they are also responsible for delivering the HOA document package to the condo consumer, explaining the details and risks, including but not limited to the covenants, restrictions, financials, and any of the other important information that the condo consumer or buyer should be aware of. They are the fiduciary. They're acting in the best interest of the condo buyer in a complicated and confusing transaction. Because the realtors and brokers in America have not been trained, it only makes sense that they are advised to not discuss this information with the consumers. They could possibly mislead the client. Please understand, I am not blaming or talking poorly of real estate brokers or realtors. I'm one of them. As soon as we start allowing realtors or brokers to get involved at this level, it changes everything. It will require a lot more training, oversight and regulation of these agencies, as well as potential liability of these brokers and agents. Do I think we need that eventually? Absolutely, but that's a big change and that's a big ask right up front. So we have to figure out something in the meantime. But if we aren't delivering and discussing it now, then who is? As of today, nobody is, unless the consumer, the buyer, hires an attorney. That's the only way they get represented. That means there is no fiduciary today. The documents are simply handed to the buyer, and the client is 100% responsible for anything and everything in that package. Don't get me wrong, we need attorneys, but not for every single condo transaction. Just like we don't need an attorney for every single mortgage transaction, investment transaction, single family home transaction to protect those clients and customers. As an example, when a buyer is provided a package of HOA documents that include the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, the financials, the reserve study, possibly only in 30% of cases, CC&Rs, which are the covenants, conditions, restrictions, recent board meeting minutes, and whatever else is included by state rules and regulations, it's quite an overwhelming package for a buyer to receive. And they only get a limited amount of time to review this during that buying process. First, how many buyers do you think read through these documents in detail, whether they are purchasing a condo or a single family home? Of course, it's their responsibility to do so, to know and understand everything in the package, because they either must sign off on them, accepting them as is, ask questions, challenging points of concern, or withdraw their offer at this point. Many professionals believe it is less than 20% of all buyers who actually read through this package, and less than 10% who go through it in detail and understand it. Of those who do read the documents, very few understand what they should be looking for when it comes to condo HOAs. Here's an example. And this one is a very simple example of a young and experienced first-time home buyer. A young girl who just graduated college had saved enough for her first home. She used an FHA loan, so she only had to put 3.5% down. Well, here's one thing. Many condo buildings, I shouldn't say many, a lot of condo buildings, though, you can't do FHA loans, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of realtors don't even know that. This allowed her a few more dollars for a couple pieces of new furniture and the move itself. Purchasing a small condo in the suburbs made most sense because it was less expensive than a single family home. Everything seemed to go smoothly, especially for her first home. However, about 8 weeks after she moved in, she received a notice of an $18,000 special assessment due. Of course, the first call she made was to her real estate agent. That agent called the selling broker, wanting to know what her seller did not disclose. After further research, they discovered that the assessment had been discussed in recent and past board meetings, but nothing had been confirmed or approved. The seller had not neglected to disclose anything. However, the state that the buyer purchased in did require 6 months of board meeting minutes be provided in the HOA package. Not all states require that. You should request it. That's something, but how would she know this, right? So say she was in a state that did not require those minutes. It's something she still should have requested, but who would have told her that? How would she have known that? There's no fiduciary there guiding her to say, hey, get 6 months of board meeting minutes and read them and look for common themes of discussion. And if she would have known to look for common theme of discussion, she would have seen this common theme and been, it sounds to me like there's potentially going to be an assessment. And then she would have gone and asked, what's up with this? They would have said, yeah, there's a strong chance we're going to have an assessment. We don't know what it's going to be, but it could be, 10, 15, 20,000 for that unit. And right away, this young lady, she would have known she couldn't have afforded even 10,000. And she would have said, I can't take this risk. And she would have never purchased that condo. And so that's something, again, there was nobody there to guide her in that, because realtors are not allowed to look at that package and offer any legal guidance. And because, again, they're not attorneys, they have to stick to what they know, and that's real estate. This is not real estate, this is a business. And if she would have had a fiduciary looking out for her, she would have been guided to do the right thing, and she would not have purchased. In the United States, we're asking brokers and real estate agents to transact condos as if the investment is a single family home. But the investment is something very different, and not only do many things get overlooked, but it has also caused financial and personal devastation for many because of the lack of knowledge, understanding, and regulation. I'm going to keep going back to regulation. This has been an unregulated industry from day one. However, apartment buildings and commercial buildings are heavily regulated, but we left condo buildings out on their own to be regulated by the condo owners, self-managed. With aging buildings, unfunded reserves, underfunded reserves, minimal knowledge and training, and inconsistent state-to-state regulations, condo investing is only going to become more of a risk if we don't get in front of this stuff sooner than later. Because we have no formal condo training available to date in America, along with limited and disjointed legislation from state to state, my goal has been to use my 15 plus years of condo industry experience to help educate and guide anyone interested, because